Hello, ranchers, dippers, and dunkers alike. Welcome back to Spill the Ranch. I am your host, Noelle Cheney, otherwise known as Noelle of Sloths, the ranch queen, the ranch lady, the ranch girl, the with ranch obviously girl, whatever you want to call me. I am so glad that we are back together on this very wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I can't wait for today's episode because this episode we are diving into all things camp, and not Met Gala camp, but summer camp. So I'm so excited for this episode. The reason I wanted to do summer camp is because it's the end of the summer. Everyone's getting home from summer camp, and it's just, I think, a fun topic to talk about as summer kind of wraps up. Before we get started, please, if you could, leave me a glowing, fabulous 5-star review on Spotify if you enjoyed the show. It just really helps if, the more ratings I can get to, prove to Spotify that I'm worth listening to. And hopefully so I can continue to make this podcast better and better each week. So I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to give the podcast a rating. If you're listening on Spotify. I didn't say that correctly, and I got distracted because there is a bug on the light over there, but I'm just not going to touch it and hope that it goes away. Also, while we're talking about ratings and reviews and things, if you are curious about keeping up with everything related to the podcast, go ahead over to Instagram and give the Spill the Ranch podcast a follow. And while you're on Instagram, you might as well follow my main page, which is Noelle of Sloths. So I would love for you to be part of the community and keeping up with my life. So if you're interested in those things, go ahead on over and give me a quick little follow. I think we've covered all of our introductory bases. As always, it is time to give y'all my weekend recap. There's not really that much for me to report from this weekend, honestly. It was quiet in terms of like an average weekend, but as I've kind of said before, like I literally had no plans this weekend. I fully went into the weekend thinking I was going to be doing nothing, and then I ended up doing something every single day. So we will talk a little bit about that. But the weekend it went by so fast. And how does that always happen? But I will say it is already Wednesday. So we are halfway through the week. And actually, when you guys see this, I'm recording this before Wednesday because I go back to work on Wednesday. So the teachers go back to work a week before the students come back to school. So we have 1 week to, get all of our meetings out of the way, get some of our lessons planned, get our classrooms ready to go. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the week, which is so much fun. And I really am very excited for the school year. I'm ready to get back into my school routine. As much as I love summer, it is kind of nice to have, a 9-to-5 routine, just like the rest of my friends. And I love fall. I mean, it's the football season. It's just a great time of year. So I'm very excited. So some fun moments from my weekend. Honestly, like I didn't really do anything that crazy. On Friday night, Zach and I were so bored. We had no plans. We were like, let's do something. So we did a little date night. We went into Kansas City, like downtown Kansas City. There's one of our favorite breweries. It's called Boulevard. It used to be like, I feel like it shouldn't even be considered a micro brewery anymore because that is what it started as, but it now is more of like, it's more well known in many states in the Midwest. So, but we went to Boulevard, had a couple beers, and then we went over to the Kansas City Wheel. So if you are not from Kansas City, we have a Ferris wheel that opened, I don't know, around Christmas time here, and it's downtown and it looks over the whole downtown in the city. You can really see a lot from the top there. It was a really fun little thing to do. And, we went there, we did it. It was fun. We took a couple pictures. So it was really cool to see the city from that angle, like usually you don't see the city from the sky. So that was a really fun thing to do. If you are local to Kansas City and you haven't tried the Kansas City wheel yet, definitely head over there. This is not sponsored or anything. Zach and I just had a really fun time. They also have mini golf there, and they have like concessions. They even had like a DJ going, and that was fun because you could like kind of hear the music from the wheel. So we had a great time. It's a very fun, very wholesome thing to do here in KC. On Saturday, I hung out with some of my girlfriends. One of my friends, Molly, had us over to her pool, and we just had some girl time. And then Zach and I just had some friends over that night. Oh my gosh, we had some friends over. It was kind of a dangerous endeavor. We've already like called our pest control, but we have a beehive on our deck. And actually one of Zach's friends was feeling very brave, and he like threw it into the yard. So now it's in the yard, but the bees have now found a new nest on the deck again. So like we're just really having bad luck with these bees on our deck. So I'm actually a little worried that this is going to be a big problem. Like I don't know what our pest control is going to tell us. I don't know if they're going to say like, yeah, you're screwed, like you're just going to have bees forever, or if they're going to have like a solution. I really hope that there is a solution for this, because we want to be able to sit on our deck like. And these bees, like, they're like swarming. They actually stung Zach's friend when he was trying to like get rid of the bees, which obviously like they were mad that they were being displaced from their home. Like I totally understand. But like, this is my home, so let's try and move them to another place. Anyway, so yeah, the bees. And I do want to talk, that's all I really have for the weekend. I do want to talk about the Olympics. I haven't talked about it yet on the podcast, but I have just been enjoying it so much. I really have been watching it as much as I can. I'm a teacher on summer break, so I am very lucky that I am home during the day and I can watch. I will say though, if I was teaching right now, like if we were in school already, I would 100% be showing the Olympics all day at school for my students, because I just, it's a fun thing to watch. And I really love, like, I love the Olympics. I feel so patriotic when I am cheering on our amazing athletes. And I just feel like it kind of brings the country together. And I know our country has so many problems, but I do feel we can all come together and cheer for our amazing, hardworking athletes that worked their butts off to get there. And it is just so much fun cheering them on. And I've had many favorite moments from the past week and a half of the Olympics. I'm going to talk about a few of them. So Regan Smith, which I actually found out, she is from Minnesota, which is where I'm from. She's from Lakeville, and I'm from just another suburb not far from Lakeville. And she won so many silver medals, and she was so close to getting gold on many of them. And I was just like, I wanted her to win a gold so bad. She finally won a gold in the, I forget which relay it was, but it was a relay. So she got her gold, and I'm so happy for her. And I have been seeing her like TikToks on TikTok, and it's just like making me so happy. All those girly swimmers, and some of the boys too, but like the girly swimmers are making their mark on TikTok. They are making so many funny videos, and they're all just so cute. Like they make me smile, seriously. Another like fave part of the Olympics for me is always gymnastics as well. Like swimming and gymnastics, like those are two sports, we don't really watch other than in the Olympics. And I love watching gymnastics. This year, I've always loved watching the women, but this year I took some time to watch the men, and let me tell you, like, the things that those dudes can do, they are so strong. They are like literally like the Hulk. It's crazy to me the things they can do. The pommel horse, like, what? I just like am so impressed by them, and I was just so happy that USA got the bronze. Like that was so cool for them, and they all looked so happy. And but of course the women, like Simone, Jordan, Suni Lee, like I love these girls. They're all so cute, all 5 of them. But Suni Lee, she is from St. Paul. I think she's from St. Paul, Minnesota. So we had like so many Minnesota people representing USA, which was so cool. So yeah, we had Suni Lee. She's just so cute. I teared up, seriously teared up watching her floor performance for the all around when she won bronze. I mean, it was just unreal. And of course, Simone Biles, watching her is just such a treat. And I just had such a great time watching all of them, and so glad that they won gold for the team. And another fun thing is, I mean, I grew up running cross country, running track. A guy that went to my high school, I believe he was 2 years younger than me, but he ran cross country and track for my high school just like I did. And he made it to the Olympics for the steeplechase. Do you know how hard that is? First of all, the steeplechase is 3,000 meters. That's 7.5 laps, almost 2 miles. And they run this in like 8.5 minutes or less. And so it's just so cool that he made it to the Olympics for that. I watched him run today, and it was just so cool watching him. Like, I'm sure he's just like, you know, on that runner's high right now. Like, just getting to go to the Olympics is such a cool thing. And just, he's like representing our state, our high school so well. And just, yeah, shout out to Matt for just like making it. It's like so cool. And then another new sport, I'm almost done. Another sport that I've never really watched before that I have enjoyed watching is indoor volleyball. So I play beach volleyball with my fiance and his like work. It's like through his work, and it's just for fun. Like, we're in the worst league. It's just for fun. It's co-ed. And so we've been playing it this summer. I oftentimes will play with them if they need another girl, because you have to have 3 girls. And so I'll play with them sometimes. But I've been, and I never really thought of myself as like an indoor volleyball fan, but I watched it a little bit this time around. Let me tell you, like, they are so good. Like, when I see our volleyball team playing, and like, we don't really know how to like officially play volleyball. We just sort of bumping around and have fun with it. But these Olympic volleyball players are insane. I don't even understand how they can like get the ball up half the time. Like, it's just crazy. So I've been really enjoying watching that. So those are the things I've been really enjoying watching in the Olympics. I'm honestly so sad that it's almost over. I love the Olympics. And like, for some reason, I didn't really watch the Tokyo Olympics all that much. I feel like it was just a weird time. It was 2021, like COVID kind of still. I just like, it was a weird time. But this one I really committed to like watching it, and let me tell you, it was so worth it. I was seriously enjoying watching it so much. So shout out to all of the USA athletes. Like, you guys have my heart. You are all so amazing, and like, congratulations just on getting to be at the Olympics. And when I think about the Olympics and the Olympic Village, when you're in the Olympic Village, I just can't imagine how fun it must be. And I know like maybe the housing situation maybe isn't the most luxurious, but I feel it must be just filled with so many good memories with your teammates. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of camp. I would assume it's almost a little bit like camp. Like, you know, it's this 2-week long thing, and you will remember it forever. You will remember these people that you were with forever, and it just has a special place in your heart. And to me, that is how summer camp is. So let's get into the next part of our episode today, which is all things summer camp. I have been wanting to talk about summer camp for a while because summer camp took up a lot of my life for a very long time. And so I'm just going to give you a little background, like my history with summer camp. So I went to a summer camp. Wait, let me count. 12 years total. So I was a camper from 3rd grade until 9th grade. And then I was a counselor from 10th grade to 12th grade. And then I was a paid staff member then for 2 years in college. So basically a camper, you know, your parents pay for you to go to the camp. And then when you're a counselor, you don't have to pay to go, but you also don't get paid for it. It's like a volunteer thing. So, that's kind of how it works at my camp. But then the staff members, when I was there was 12 paid staff members who lived at the camp all summer, and like we ran and managed the camp, and we were there all summer, whereas like the campers and counselors would only come up for 5 nights at a time. So that's kind of how it worked at our camp. And the staff members always had to be in college, like of college age. And so that is how our camp worked. The camp was the church camp for the church that I went to, but you didn't have to go to the church to go to the camp. Like I brought my very best friend, Quinn. We went up together every year. She didn't go to my church, and she even worked at camp for a year as well. So you didn't have to go to church to like go to camp. Anybody could go. And it was literally the best time of my life. And this camp, it was a fairly small camp. I mean, we only had like 10 cabins, and only around, like anywhere from 8 to 14 people could be in each cabin. So we never really had a group come up that was more than like 110 maybe. So when you think of summer camps, it probably wasn't as big as a lot of other camps you might think of. But I kind of think that was the beauty of it. Like everybody really got to know each other very well, very quickly. And it was just such a fun environment. The camp itself, very simple. I mean, we didn't have archery or horseback riding or four-wheeling or anything like that. It was really just what made it so special was the people. And so I guess I can kind of just like take you through a normal day at camp. So you'd wake up, go to chapel in the morning, which basically we just sing a couple songs and like say a prayer, and then go to breakfast. And then we go to breakfast, and we'd always play like fun music at the meals, and you'd eat breakfast. Then after breakfast, okay, let me think. It's been a while. I'm trying to think the order of things. After breakfast was Bible study, I believe. So the counselors didn't do Bible study, only the campers did. So during Bible study, that's kind of like free time for the counselors. And usually they would just go like jump in the lake or whatever. And then, and my memory might be like, it's been a long time since I've had to do this schedule. Okay. After Bible study, we'd have 11 o'clock activities, which the campers, sign up for. There's like 4 different activities. Like one would be canoeing. One would be, like a game on the field, and then arts and crafts. And then there'd be like one other one. So the campers get to sign up for whatever ones they want. And then they would do that. That's for an hour. Then we go to lunch. After lunch, we would have some more activities. We would do things like swimming, games. And then throughout the day, there's 2 canteens. There's one canteen after those activities. Canteen is like where you can get snacks. You can get like ice cream, treats, snacks. You can buy merch. And then they'd go get ready for dinner, and we'd eat dinner. By the way, every meal has like a theme, like USA or formal or wear something goofy. Like there's different themes. After dinner, we would always do an activity, and then we would do campfire, and then devotions were right before we'd go to bed in each cabin. So just the cabins themselves would do their own devotions, and then you go to bed. Usually we'd go to bed around like 10 or 11, kind of depending on the age group. The younger ones go to bed obviously earlier. The older ones, the schedule is like pushed back a little bit. So that's kind of like a day in the life at camp. I don't know if I really needed to explain that. But my point here is like, it's a very simple camp. We literally just play games, swim, canoe, and we would do like things like the Olympics. So we would split everybody into teams, and there'd be 4 teams, and we would do all these different events. There's so many different fun games we'd play. It's not just capture the flag. We had a game like Mighty Scoop Noodle Challenge, which is like capture the flag, but also like 3 other different games. crossed over. And so just a very fun time. And we had a field of life, which was where we had like a beach volleyball court. We had like an asphalt like basketball court, and we had a baseball field, like where we play World Cup or kickball. And then we also had what we called the field of death. And we called it that was because it was literally just this big grass field, but it was called the field of death because it had a bunch of like gopher holes. So, and like if you fell in one, you could like roll your ankle. So it was like really dangerous. We would like spray paint all the big holes so that people didn't fall in them. Anyways, what I'm getting at here is the camp that I went to was really simple. It was really just the people that made it so fun, and especially the staff members. Like what made me want to be a staff member growing up was like seeing how fun and goofy they all were. So when I worked at camp, I was like so goofy. I had some different characters that I would play. It was just such a fun time. So goofy. We ate a lot. Speaking of eating, we would do these like food eating contests, and I never took part, but the boys did. And there was one time when I think it was, and sometimes it'd be counselors doing the food eating contest. Sometimes it'd be staff members, not usually the campers, because like I feel like that could be like a little bit of a liability. But we would do contests like who can eat the most breakfast corn dogs, or like who can eat the most chicken nuggets. And one time one of our staff members, in order to win this contest, he had this like huge chalice, and he crushed up all of this is so gross. He crushed up all of the chicken nuggets and put them in the chalice and then put water in them, and he drank them. And like that was crazy, but like so fun to watch. And you can only imagine how much like kids love that type of stuff. So that's kind of the culture of the staff or of the camp that I worked at and grew up going to. And I was on staff for 2 years, like I said. So when you live up there, we had what was called the staff house, where the staff lived. And it was a big old house with like three bedrooms. And there was usually ideally 6 boys and 6 girls on the staff. I think there was one year where we had like 8 girls and 4 boys. It just kind of depends on who you can get that year. But so all of us college kids living in a house, you can imagine like it was always a mess, but it was so much fun. As you can imagine, like living in a house with a bunch of your friends that you also just happen to get to work with is so much fun, but the house was always a mess. We would have to like set aside time to clean the house. But it was honestly so much fun. That was really like the only time like I'd never lived with boys before. And it was just so fun. Like I can't even explain it. Like I feel like we just like we're laughing all the time. And it was just such a fun time. But yeah, that place definitely got dirty. But you know, it is what it is. So, and just some more things about like what it's like to be on a staff at a camp. You kind of see some like crazy things. Like I could probably talk about this all day, and I don't want to like bore you guys to tears, but I tried to think of some of the funniest, stories from when I was on staff, and a couple come to mind. There was one year when there was a bat in the kitchen and it took us like we couldn't catch it, and we were trying so hard, and eventually someone like hit it with a broom and like killed it. And I just remember going in there and seeing the bat just like on the floor. I think I still have the video on my Snapchat memory. But like seriously, like things like that you just can't make up. Like of course there are bats. Like we're in the middle of the woods in northern Minnesota. Like yeah, we're gonna get bats. But it's just like funny. It was like the whole rest of the summer everybody was like bat in the kitchen, and it was just like an inside joke. Another funny one from when I was on staff, and like some of these stories honestly run together. Some of them might have been from when I was a counselor or when I was on staff, but this one was for sure when I was a staff member. So as a staff member, everybody has to get first aid training and lifeguard training because we would like switch off and be like lifeguards when we were during swim time. And so, like technically I was a lifeguard, and, there was a kid who had this who got a leech on his foot, and I was like the staff member that was down there. And so I went and like pulled it off of him. That was like my first reaction. Like, okay, let's get this leech off of you. And I get the leech off, and I like turned around for like 1 second, and then I turned back around and I lost the kid. He had like run back into the water, and I didn't know where he went. And I was like, well, hopefully he's good. He wasn't bleeding or anything. I think that like the leech, it wasn't like attached to him or anything. But that still sticks with me, because like, what if something had gone wrong? Thankfully it didn't. But like, yeah, so I pulled a leech off of a kid. We would oftentimes see leeches in the water. That just happens at the lake. Couple other funny stories. Now, if you there's this bug that keeps flying around. If you like, if you have like emetophobia, like you don't like throwing up, maybe skip this part, but this story is kind of funny. This is actually from when I was a counselor, and this kid, I think it was like his toe or something. He was bleeding, and the head of the camp was so excited because he had personally asked me to like take this kid and help just clean up his little cut that he had on his foot. I was like, okay. I brought this kid into the bathroom, in the big lodge. So like we had a lodge where the basement was like, we would do activities, and there was like bathrooms in there, and then the upstairs was the dining hall. So I took him in there, and this was during Bible study. And so there was actually a group of kids in Bible study with a staff member in there. And I was a counselor at the time, like a first year counselor. I was like 16, never done this before. Also, I was terrified of throwing up. I took this kid into the bathroom, and I like take his shoe off, and I see like he's like just bleeding just a little bit. It was not a lot on his toe or whatever. And the kid looks down and sees the cut on himself. And he just immediately starts crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like, are you okay? And he's like, oh. And I was like, is it your tummy? Like, does your tummy hurt? And he goes, yes. And he immediately just like threw up everywhere. Obviously didn't make it into the toilet. And I think it was just because he like got squeamish at the sight of blood, would be my assumption, because he like was totally fine before. But that was just crazy. And I remember I was like, what do I do? And so I went out and I found a staff member that was just right outside the door, and like they took care of it. I was like, I can't do throw up. Like, please help me. And so they took care of it. But oh my gosh, that was just like, if that were to have happened again, I probably would have been able to deal with it a little bit better. But yeah, so that was me, my first official like instructions as a counselor, and I like literally couldn't even deal with it because I was so scared to throw up. Another fun thing to kind of just mention about camp is like, and if you've ever been to camp, like, it's like such a special place. And another special thing that happens at camp is camp romances. So when I was a camper, like, I never had any romances. Like, nobody ever liked me. But I just always thought it was so funny to see, like, different campers trying to meet up during our free time, or like counselors meeting up with each other. Like, we would always be gossiping, like, oh, who liked who liked, like, are they dating? And the best part is there are actually several people that went to my camp who we all went growing up, and a lot of them ended up being on staff, who are married or engaged to be married. And so it's like so cute when those romances really make it out of the group chat, like they really make it past camp, and then they get married, and it's like the cutest thing. And like, honestly, I just love that so much for them. such a pure way to meet somebody like at church camp for real. And then they end up getting married. Like, oh, I just love it so much. Like there's so many couples that got married from our church camp, like who met, maybe they didn't meet at camp, but like they went to camp together and then they ended up dating and getting married. It's just such a cute story. So I now want to talk about, let's talk about some stories that you guys sent in about camp. So let's do, okay, the first one, this is like shock value stuff here. This one is crazy. I can't wait to share with you guys all these stories. Here's number one. One time at summer camp, I was swimming with my friends and we were jumping off a dock in the deeper part of the lake, and I landed on something hard thinking it was a cooler. So I told my camp counselor and they put on goggles and jumped in, and turns out it was a dead body. So I found a dead body at the age of 12. I never went back to camp. My mom took me out the next day. Yeah, that's like insane. I literally can't imagine that. Of course, I had attended a camp for 12 years. And if anybody had ever found a dead body at the camp, I mean, the camp like could have easily gotten shut down. Like depending on like how that body got there, how long was it there? Like that is so scary. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that, first of all, because that must have been very, very traumatic for you and the counselors that put on the goggles and went down there and found it. I mean, I have so many questions as well. And like, I feel like this should be a true crime story. I wish we had some more information about the case, because like, how did it get there? How long was it there? How did this person end up at the bottom of the lake? Like, I have questions, but I also like, am so sorry that this traumatic thing happened to you. And I completely understand why you will never go back to camp again. And I completely understand why your mother was like, let's get you the heck out of here. That is such a scary experience. I'm sure the camp had to deal with some legal things after that. So that's like crazy insane. Oh my gosh. This one's really cute and sweet. This one says, not really a crazy story or anything, but maybe a helpful tip for any current counselors. I used to keep really fine glitter in a small decorated jar next to my bed. I told the kids it was fairy dust and would sprinkle it on their feet every night before bed, and said the magic kept any homesickness or bad dreams away. Worked like a charm, and I rarely was waking up from kids because of nightmares. That is genius. As someone who was a counselor, you know, sometimes you do deal with kids who get homesick. That's what happens when you're at a sleepaway camp. And that is so genius. And because really, homesickness is just all a mental game. And once the kids, like, I remember when I first went to summer camp, I did cry when we were like leaving, like on the bus. But after that, I never got homesick. Actually, I might have gotten homesick once the very first time, but after that, never again. But it really just is something you have to like, it's a mental block. And like, kids obviously don't realize that. They want their parents, of course. But this is such a genius thing to do. And I'm sure they just like, it made them feel so comforted. And I feel like there's so many little tips and tricks that counselors would do, you know, to make their campers feel comfortable. I am honestly drawing a blank right now with mine. But I just loved, like, I didn't really counsel the younger kids as much. I normally did like the teenagers, but I think I did a 4th and 5th grade one once, but I don't really recall any of the girls being super homesick. But there's so many little things you can do to make them feel comfortable. And it's just so sweet when they get so, especially the younger ones, they get so close with their counselors and they just love them so much and they're so sweet. The little ones, they're so sweet and so fun, and that is such a good trick. Are you a teacher now? Because I feel like that is such a teacher move. So if you're the one who sent that in, I'm just curious, what are you up to now? Are you a teacher? Because you would be a really, really good teacher. Let's go to the next one. Okay, my summer camp story. At camp, we saw this one mouse come into the cabin, but after, when we went to bed, there were 8 mice that had come out, and they were like 5 minutes apart coming in. That doesn't really make sense. But basically, there was many mice in the cabin, and I can relate to this because my first year on staff, we had a mouse problem in the staff house. It didn't really start to occur until like halfway through the summer, but there was like a hole, and it was on where my bedroom was in our bathroom. That's how they were getting in, and the mice were actually getting in through a hole that led them to the pipe that would get for the sink, the water pipe that would like bring the water into the sink. So eventually we like caught the mice, and they were all wet, and it was because they were coming through the drain pipe. So disgusting. But yeah, the thing with mice is like, you have to figure out how they're getting in, because if you don't, then they'll just keep coming in. I got the bug. I got it. It was bugging me all day. Anyway. But yeah, you have to plug the hole that they're coming in from. Otherwise, you will never get rid of them. And they figured out where they were coming in from. So the next year when I came back, luckily there were no mice. We're going to do one more story. So this one actually didn't take place at a sleepaway camp, but it easily could have. So there was a kid, not his real name, but for the story's sake, his name was Johnny. Johnny had put a fake coin in his mouth. I looked up to tell Johnny to spit the coin out, and then I noticed that he was holding his mouth and not talking. I shot up and asked him if he was choking. He nodded yes. So I ran over and started performing the Heimlich maneuver. I got about 4 pumps in, and I was about to tell one of the kids to run out and get a manager when the coin fell out of Johnny's mouth. At first, I was so relieved that I didn't have to perform CPR. But then I heard Johnny say, "Just kidding." I was stunned and asked him if he was being serious, and he said he was playing a prank to lighten the mood. Every child in the room then started to berate Johnny and tell him it was not funny, and they were freaked out. I did write that incident up and told one of the managers. The next day, Johnny came up to me and apologized, and he told me his dad had told him the story of the boy who cried wolf and how what he did was similar to the boy in the story. I accepted his apology, and I can laugh at it now, but it was terrifying at the time. Yeah, that is like so scary when you're an educator or a counselor or anybody who ever has to work with kids. Any time where they are potentially in danger is terrifying when you are the one who's responsible for them. So I commend you for like hopping up quick, getting the Heimlich done, and like doing that. Because sometimes it's easy to freeze in situations like that. So first of all, you did a fabulous job in a crisis, but this kid, he'll learn. Hopefully he'll never do that again. I am curious. I don't know if it said how old the kid was. But no matter how old he was, like, that is crazy. I'm like, if a kid did that to me, I would probably never want to be a counselor again. Although I say that, and a kid like threw up on me. So like, I guess he didn't throw up on me, but threw up in my presence, and I still continued to be a counselor. So there's always crazy things that are going to happen when you are working with kids, whether you're an educator, a counselor, a staff member at a camp. Kids are crazy. They do weird things, and that's kind of just the joy of working with kids. You know, there's never a dull moment, and they're always going to be making mistakes. They're always going to be doing crazy, silly things, but that's okay. And that's how they learn, and that's how they become wonderful, beautiful, awesome adults. So that is everything we have for today, this camp episode. I would love to hear more about your camp experiences. If you want to continue sending in more stories to the spilltheranch@gmail.com email. I could talk about camp all day. I have so many fond memories. Like, I literally think about it so much. I follow like the camp that I went to, like they have socials, and so I follow them, and it just like makes me so happy still seeing all of the magic going on at camp. And I think if you went to camp, like just the magic that happens at camp. And because oftentimes it's not the activities you do or, how nice the camp is. It's about the people that you meet there, about the people who make it a magical place. And truly, like, I can say with confidence, all of the people that I worked with over those 2 years when I was a staff member, like, they were all such awesome people. And growing up having, the staff and the counselors as my role models, like, really shaped me to want to be an educator. And so, like, it made me a better person. Like, when I was on staff, I went in like not really knowing how to like clean a bathroom because my parents didn't make me do it growing up, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that. But I learned how to get down to the nitty-gritty, clean a disgusting bathroom. I learned how to cook. I learned a lot of cooking skills because we would have to work in the kitchen, and I'm just so grateful every day that I had that, and I got to experience, working at that camp and attending that camp and meeting the people I did through that camp. I'm unfortunately like haven't been able to stay super close with some of the people that I worked with, mainly because I don't live where they live. Most of them live in Minnesota, but I just think so fondly of those times and of all of the people that I worked with and, had the pleasure of living with and having a great summer with. So if you went to summer camp, I'm sure you can relate. There's just a magic to it. And you have those memories forever. And there's nothing quite like summer camp. It's so unique in the way that it's really about the people and the memories that you make. And it's just a great time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this memory. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and, hopefully some of these stories and my stories and experiences made you a little nostalgic for camp and brought up some good memories of yours. And thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to give the podcast a review on Spotify if you're listening or watching on Spotify. And go give my Instagrams a follow. And I can't believe it, you guys, but I will be at work when this episode drops. I can't believe I'm going back to work. It's crazy. I'm excited though. And I look forward to updating you guys how work has been next week. I'm so excited. This weekend I'm seeing DJ Diesel. If you know who that is, it's Shaquille O'Neal. He's a DJ, and he's DJing on the field after the Royals game this weekend. And so we're all going to the Royals game, and then we got tickets to go down on the field to watch DJ Diesel set. I'm so excited. Last year we did that as well, but Jake Owen was the performer, so that was really fun. Going onto the field is so cool. If you ever have the opportunity to like do that, like at a baseball game like we're doing, it is so much fun. So I can't wait to update you guys on that next week. I hope you guys have a very saucy rest of your week, a saucy weekend, and a wonderful rest of your week. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.